Yeah,
I got a whole different room to deal with.
So this is, this is that
Right.
part of that project. And I actually met her at the gala, and she had her hair down. She was beautiful. She didn't even look like her. Anyway, so I went to Seattle Forest, and Chief Best was speaking.
Okay.
So we made up these with nothing in the back, not matted. And we asked everybody to write, just take 30 seconds and write a thank you note to the police officers, to police officers. You know,
That's cool.
get up every day and who knows if they're gonna come home tonight.
Right.
So out of 200 people, I got 19 back.
Really?
So I decided we're
Seattle
here
for,
and ask everybody here if they wouldn't mind taking 30 seconds to write out.
So when would it be delivered? Or?
Well, the awards banquet is November 1st.
Yeah, you plan on going.
Yeah, my company bought
Gotcha.
tickets for me. And so I want to send this to the police before, but I don't want to send them 19.
Yeah. And we'll have time for announcements, so you should mention that.
And what's her name? Kathy Gibson, who's going to be with this. She was president of Rotary a few years ago, and she was up on stage. She had everybody take 30 seconds and write a cutout, and she got like 100, 150. Current president said this, and please write something down. At 19. They're so rigid, you can't do anything.
Right. Yeah. So trying to put together the Eventbrite for the pub crawl.
Yeah, I need to.
All I have is the locations.
Yeah. I don't know if we really should sell tickets to.
That's what I was wondering. Do we want?
I think it should just be a free.
So just like a register for free?
Just
Because nobody's gonna. Okay. Maybe just the
so.
Eventbrite is just kind of a page that describes
And
it.
just say free.
Free.
And then and then go down.
Do you want to
and,
donate? Donate.
Right.
Okay. Good.
I think that
helps.
Yeah.
And then, so do we start here?
We would start. I would start at
McMahon.
at 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
4 to 6.
Right.
Because then I really want people to sign up to go to, which is free.
So do we have to sign up for the
Yeah, and it's
fill in
Yeah.
I
And
can
it's,
interrupt, guys.
Go ahead. It's on.
Melissa, she's got a slide deck.
Oh, perfect.
It's really just on what's standing in front of the blank wall. Like,
Yeah.
We go with that.
Yeah, good to meet you. So there might be a slide.
You never know
So let's see if we've got a couple of slides there.
I mean, it's I could easily go without.
Yeah, must be. I did. So, all right, perfect. Well,
Nice.
make yourself welcome. There's snacks and coffee. You're all set up. So I think we got two presentations.
I have to take care of this at the front. Oh my gosh, look at me. That's a great photo. I love that. Yeah, yeah, there's coffee and there's back there. Thank ma'am.
Most of the things are the same ones here, but sometimes I see things that I don't recognize.
It's
I haven't
so
seen
old.
something like this since I was in high school.
I know, pretty much.
So what we have in the gym is because computers die in the gym, so we just buy these like old $200.
Well, where do you get them from? Because we need to do that too.
Craigslist. Like literally, because it's
That's a good idea.
there's so much chalk dust and moisture that things just, I mean, they die. So we just
Pick one up from Craigslist.
it just has to run, check in a kiosk, and you know.
Menninger.
Okay, I saw that mark up there. Oh, that's Rotary International.
Yeah, he's like the
The
head
big
honcho.
big.
Yeah. He's a good guy.
My mother did Rotary. I think she did that as long as when I was growing up. So, and my grandfather was a worker, so there's been this long.
Wow. Rotary's been around for a while.
It has. What do you do when you're not Rotary?
I work at a company called Place for Mom, and there's like security guard.
They do senior housing?
They do, yeah. So it's kind of a placement service. So we find people who need senior living, advisors.
My mom has Alzheimer's, so we're having very good conversations with her life. We feel that they have exceeded, they've passed what
Yeah, well, it's not too early to talk to somebody local. So you just go to a place from on and they'll connect you with an advisor. And all they do is they just give recommendations. And if you end up moving to one of those facilities, then we get a little commission. So the advisors know all of those good locations that can give you good prices.
We definitely need help with something. Yeah.
It's a pretty easy process.
I have a question for you. Yes. Do you
All right. Good morning. How are you, sir?
Good. So next week or next month, you're up on a couple of things. So you're going to be doing. I have to look it up for the day one day. So,
but I'm also doing the foundation.
You're doing a foundation talk, and then you're doing a short.
We are. Well, we're the south end of the city, so we're like Columbia City.
I have to look it up.
Right.
And then I'm out one day next month.
Okay.
So that'd be a great opportunity. I'll have to look it up, but I'll.
Because I'm going to go to Europe.
It's just like not a thing we do. So like, what's the trying to be like?
I'll look it up and I'll send it to you.
Okay.
But yeah, you've got a couple of things going
Yeah,
on
let me
next
know.
month. Yep.
Yeah, let me know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Father, we can figure out where I was.
What are you going to do later?
Kitchen store, it was.
And then flush it, whatever, and then you just pour it.
Straight out. Yeah. Brady's been doing, like, he's been, there's like 4 officers that run every drill school. And so he's been, this is the last one. He leaves for work at 3:30, comes home at 7, has to be in bed by 8. And then on the week, every day during the week, and then on the weekends, he's got like 12 hours.
You know what's so funny? I'm sure your husband.
He used to be the lieutenant at the station that is supposedly Station 19, and there would be people like I would go whatever, and there would be people like outside, like taking selfies. Yeah.
Well, so
Yeah, and it's a terrible show.
Right.
Yeah. My daughter loves it.
Yeah. But it's a specific thing. Right.
Right, it would be really boring television. Yeah, no, I mean, we watched the first
Morning,
like,
good to see you.
couple episodes, and, like,
So you were,
somebody's
talking
daughter,
about
like
the
the
website.
lieutenant's daughter is on the crew. And then they're like,
One of the projects we're working on right now is kind of got us down a rabbit hole of seeing if we can make a website.
like,
So I just
you
went
know,
down
yeah,
with
they
it.
asked him to do that. They,
And,
because he was the lieutenant at
I
the
was
station,
talking to
they
my
asked him
partner about it. He's like,
Okay.
and he was like,
I don't know why people pay $2,000 to $4,000 for a website.
Yeah.
It takes 2 or 3 months to make when you can just make money. It's like, I did my company's website. It's great for us. And it costs about
Right.
and then monthly fees.
Right.
And so I looked into it just to
but
see
how
if we can mess
beautiful is
around.
this? They actually filmed
And
in
I put
20s.
this one over my laptop as well. For after.
Yours will probably work better. But, yeah, I
And
totally.
they're just, I mean,
Yeah.
they're quick messing around like nothing fancy. They're not really publishing anything.
Right.
But at least give me an idea of
Every day.
websites for.
Yeah.
I think the monthly fees
You
are
always
somewhere
whenever they
between
show up.
20 and like $60 a month, depending on what kind of media you want with.
Right.
Yeah, that station's beautiful. With the,
But certainly better than $2,000.
now that would be interesting.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
said, I don't remember what the final numbers were actually going to be. I remember during the discussion somewhere around like 2 to 4.
It's hard.
yeah. It was like $2,000. It was 4 altogether, but 2
Grady is so
to
national
districts. So yeah, I think altogether.
So hard to get more.
So, and then
But,
plus there's still monthly fees.
There's still monthly
Hosting.
And he gets so like,
Um,
and then I think they're
So yes, let's talk about
I think they
this.
started 6 women.
And
Because it's something I could have done in like 7 to 10 days. Most of the stuff that I put on
Because
there
you just you have to
is
be
from
able
the
to
new Rotary
run with the ladder,
rebranding
try to
pages,
get it up, climb up
which
the ladder.
their branding center is insane right now.
yeah,
So it just breaks his
That's
heart. because
way
he's
more
like,
stuff
I'm going
than I
on
thought.
Mondays. I'm like,
yeah. Like I said in my email, it's you know, I think it's
yeah, that
I
would be
think our
fascinating.
website
They're like,
functions
"Oh,
fine.
Yeah.
It's up to
Yeah.
So that's kind of on
So
us.
the
Is to
reality
keep
is,
that. I mean, if we just kept that
kind of
on
boring,
the
but it
website,
also
I'm fine with it.
isn't.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not that it needs to be.
But you have to look at stuff.
I mean, it'd be
you have to
nice.
look at, like,
It's more.
cancer rate
Somebody needs to
and
keep
the
it up.
PTSD.
Well, and that's like I've checked out Wix and Squarespace.
Okay.
Easy.
Yeah.
And one's easier than the other.
Right.
Let's talk about
That's who shows up. Right? Like, so it's all this for the. Yeah, you know, so it's not. It's not sexy, but it's really, they tell us so much about. So I find it totally.
also too.
Oh,
The bird.
it's huge. Yeah, it's huge. Well, and they, you know, Brady's our department's backing more talent than ours. They're behind.
Good morning.
Backing the police.
Can you hear me? All right.
Whatever.
Welcome to Emerald City Rotary. I'm your president, Mark Menninger, and happy to welcome everybody here this morning. And I think for the thought of the day, we have our very own Mr. Larry Kinner. Please help me welcome Larry.
Thank you. So I know last week Jerry Rowling pulled out a magazine that has many thoughts that he shared. My source is to go online and search, and you can really spend a lot of time doing that, but I found some things I thought were interesting. So the quotes here that I gravitated to from Margaret Mead. I was wise enough to never grow up while fooling most people into believing that I had. The second one that I liked was a quote from someone named Jonathan Lockwood Huey. And I saw his name a lot. I thought, who is this guy? So when I put it in, I found out that there was a Mariners relief pitcher by that name, not him. This guy wrote self-awareness books. And his quote was, having a personal opinion is great. Believing that one's personal opinion is absolute truth leads to most of the world's trouble. Just a couple more here. One of the annoying things about believing in free will and individual responsibility is the difficulty of finding somebody to blame your problems on. And when you find somebody, it's remarkable how often his picture turns up on your driver's license. And finally, from Stephen Covey, the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. Okay, please join me in the pledge. I don't know that you in the back can see what the flag is. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you, Larry. Excellent. All right. We've got a song, I believe.
We do have a song. So, hi, I'm Joel. For those that are visiting, every Tuesday morning we sing. We are a singing club. So it is Tuesday, so we're going to do exactly that. And today the speaker is talking about inclusivity. And I looked through the archives and found there aren't too many inclusive songs.
Well, that's interesting.
There probably are, I just couldn't find it. So I did find one that I think fits the bill very well. And when I came in, Howard gets the music going before I show up, and you had some 70s throwback tunes on there. Very nice. This is one of those with good old Sly and the Family Stone. It is on the back of your sheet here, all the words. So here we go. Make sure we've got the volume up. I'm right, but I could be wrong. My own beliefs are in my song. The butcher, the baker, the drummer, and then makes no difference what group I'm in. Everyday people, yeah, yeah. It's the blue one, yes, and the green one, for living with the fat one, trying to be a skinny one, different strokes for different folks, so on and so on, and so on. Shout, shout. We got to live together. I know better, and neither are you. We are the same, whatever we do. You hate me, know me, and then you can't figure out the bag I'm in.
So if I'm being such a bitch, one that will not ever go on. Different strokes for different folks. So on and so on and so really do. We got to live yellow, one that won't accept the black, one that won't accept the red, one that won't accept the white, one different strokes for different folks. So on and so on and so really do.
That's my favorite song.
Nicely done.
All right, good choice, Joel. We've got a packed meeting today, and so I'm going to invite up our Sergeant at Arms, who's going to kick us off. Please help me welcome Mr. Tom Burley.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. Larry, thanks for the talk for the day. I particularly like the things annoying. So speaking of which, here's Tom. And you know, I saw Sly and the Family Stone in concert. He played this song, and it's completely lost on me that one of the key lyrics is Scooby Dooby Doo. It wasn't when I looked at that. I thought, oh my gosh, that is what he's singing. I have no idea where that comes from, other than maybe a desperate attempt to find some words that were right. Anyway, so thank you for that. Well, it is good to be here. Another Tuesday morning in Rotary. And for those of you unfamiliar with Rotary, it's very unusual for clubs to sing, but we sing every single club meeting and do so with great delight. So always important to introduce guests, and we have a guest of honor. So Sherry or Mark, if you would introduce our guest of honor, please.
I have Alyssa Royce, and I will introduce her when she takes the podium.
Welcome to you, Alyssa.
Thank you.
Good. And we have at the table back here two guests. David, I asked you if you might introduce them. If you have those two people stand, please.
I just met John and Kay here,
Okay.
and they're longtime Seattle residents, and just here checking out our club.
Excellent. Hi, John and Kay. Would it be possible to have a last name? Say it again.
Crowley.
Crowley. Okay. You own the maritime company, all the tugboats and all of that. Well, good to have you here. Thanks for joining us and making your way.
We have a castle in Ireland.
Awesome. Okay. Next meeting there. Yeah. Thank you for that. And I think that is all our guests. We have a short program today, so the Sergeant Arms time is, which will be far more interesting than me. So our Sergeant Arms times will be short, but I'm going to do a quiz. It's a one-question quiz. Okay. Our short program is going to be Phil Thompson speaking on water project in Thailand. So a little geography quiz. Okay. So you can write this down or you can just hold it in your head. Here's the quiz. Which of the following four cities is not a city in Thailand? Which of the following four cities is not a city in Thailand? 1, Buriram. 2, Chittagong. 3, Chiang Mai. 4, Chiang Rai. Buriram, Chittagong, Chiang Mai, Chiang Rai. Okay? Everybody got that? Hold that in your head. Remember, one of the 4 pillars of Rotary is it the truth? So don't change your mind when you hear the right answer. Okay. Who thought that the city that is not Thai is Buriram? Every one of you thought Buriram was a Thai city. Really? I don't believe you. Chittagong? Few. Okay, there's our smart ones right there. Chittagong is actually a city in southeastern Bangladesh. Chiang Mai and Chiang Rai, indeed, are both cities in Thailand. So if you put something other than Chittagong, $1 on the table, please. If you would. I want to end with this. Vera Koch, if you would be so kind, please, and to stand. And to all people present, members and guests, Vera, this is her very first meeting as a full-fledged member of Emerald City Rotary. So if you would, give a hand to Vera. Vera, good to have you here. If you would do me and the club a favor, if you would come forward to the podium, please. Our esteemed president has something for you. Thanks very much, everybody, for being here.
All right, thank you, Tom. Vera, we're happy to welcome you to the club, and this is an official welcome packet that describes everything you want to know about Rotary. It's all in here. And you can remove the sticker because we've got an official name tag for you and a really cool Rotary magnetic pin, which you can wear with pride. So welcome to our club, and we look forward to getting to know you better. And so yes, big round of applause for Vera. One of the things that we should do more often is called classification talks, where we get to hear a little bit more about our members, and you can speak about your profession. And so we'll probably arrange a time for you to do that in an upcoming meeting.
Great.
Excellent. Well, thank you. Welcome.
Great to be official. Yeah.
Yes, you're official.
Thank you very much.
All right, excellent. All right, we're moving right along. So I think what we'll do is we'll bring up our own Phil Thompson to talk about his projects and what he's been doing in Thailand. And he has a presentation, and we'll let him get that started. There are a couple of slideshows up. I think yours is down. There you go.
Yeah.
All right, Phil.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm just going to talk to you today a little bit about some of the work that we've been doing in Thailand over the past many years. Hopefully you can all hear me back there in the back okay? But I first wanted to start out with a little bit of a story. So let's go back to 1920. And in 1920, there was a young couple in Oklahoma sitting in church. They had just graduated from college, and a physician was there talking about his work in Tibet as a missionary. And the couple, they looked at each other and they said, this is what we're going to do with our lives. So they took their newborn baby and went to Vancouver, British Columbia, and literally took a slow boat to China. So once they got there with the doctor, they proceeded on to their destination. And about, so a couple days into their journey, the doctor decides to ride ahead to do some reconnaissance or what have you. And he's mistakenly ambushed and killed. So here they are, this couple, thousands of miles away from their home in Oklahoma. The only person that they knew has been killed. So they decide, hey, you know, we came this far, we're going to stay here. So they stayed in Tibet and they did missionary work. So now we're going to fast forward to 1949, where they were chased out of Tibet by the communist Chinese. And so they go over to Burma, which is now Myanmar. And so in 1949, the gentleman that I've been working with since 2006, his name's Johnny Morse, he was born. I'm going to jump forward then to about 1966. And Johnny's family was chased out of Burma for basically the same reasons. They were trying to get missionaries out of the country at the time. The problem was one, their house had been recently burned down by the military, so all of their papers were destroyed. And at this point, they had about 4,000 people in their congregation, mostly of a tribe called Lahu people. So they go to the Indian border with 4,000 people, try to imagine that, and they try to get into India. And the Indian government said, you don't have any papers, we're not going to let you in. So what did they do? Johnny's family and 4,000 Lahu people went into the uncharted jungles of Myanmar, and they lived there for 6 years. And so it's really an amazing story. There's been 2 books written about it. But fast forward to about 6 years later, an Indian and Pakistani group of army people were going through this uncharted area in in Myanmar or in Burma, and they find all these people. They find like over 4,000 people living off of the land. And so they get kicked out again, and this time they go to Thailand. And so ever since then, Johnny's family has been working in Thailand for an organization called Faith International. I just think that's an amazing story, so I thought I'd share that with you briefly. So we first started working, for those of you who haven't heard some of the background before, I'm just going to kind of give you a little history and then a little summary of the 2 projects that I hope the club will support, including that for a Rotary District grant that we just submitted back on September 15th. So we've started working in 2004. So Seattle University Engineers for a Sustainable World is the organization that I'm the faculty advisor for. We've been working in northern Thailand, just north of Chiang Mai, about 3 hours north of Chiang Mai, in a place called Hoi Nam Pun. And in 2005 to 2006, we built this 3,000 square foot dormitory. I could talk on and on and on about all these projects. I'm gonna try to blow through this stuff here. We put in some restroom facilities. In 2010, this club supported the construction of this kitchen and dining facility for these kids. So basically, these facilities are for about 60 kids whose families live so far away from the closest school that they have to stay at this essentially boarding school. And so that's who these kids are. We built a bridge in 2008. That was a fun project. We've done many, many water projects, about a half a dozen different types of drinking water projects. This was a rainwater capture project that we did. This is a water treatment system that we did for a church that's nearby. The most recent water project was in 2017, where we put in a groundwater well for this same dormitory that we had constructed in 2005, 2006. Quick story here. It's a pretty elaborate celebration, as you can tell. You probably can't see, but I think about 10 of the people in this group are representatives from Nok Air. Nok Air is a regional airline in Thailand. A couple of years ago, I was checking in at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I gave the person at the counter my passport, and I forgot that I had 5,000 baht, about $150 in the back of my passport, and she took it from me. And long story short, I know people in Thailand. I happen to be half Thai, and my uncle knows the director of the airport and had access to the security cameras, which they wouldn't let me access. They wouldn't tell. They were trying to push me off, you know. So at any rate, the CEO of the airline doesn't want this bad publicity for this American getting robbed by one of his employees. So he donated 200,000 baht to our project to have this well put in. So lemons into lemonade. That was definitely a good project. So now they have a really reliable groundwater source. So going a little further north into the Golden Triangle area of Laos, and I actually pronounce it Lao for those of you who don't know, Myanmar and Thailand. In 2011, this club sponsored a project for an orphanage that was established by Johnny's organization. So in this area, the people who, there's a lot of drug running, that's historically, right? And historically it was opium in the Golden Triangle. Well, now it's methamphetamine. And so the way it works is the farmers are the ones that are conscripted to carry the drugs across the border. And the bad guys, the gangsters, they kind of stay in the back just in case there's an ambush. So the people who get killed are the innocent people as opposed to, you know, the gangsters. And so as a result, you get a lot of orphans that get generated. And they're just super amazingly cute kids. So I just had to share a couple photos. And so this club sponsored this orphanage that was completed just a few years ago in 2015. Actually, there's still some work to be done. This is an old picture. This is a newer picture. It's probably a little dark for you to see. And that's a little kind of up close. But suffice it to say, this club has been very generous and supporting these various projects over the years. And so the latest project, which is one that I wrote a district grant for that I submitted back in September, is for this school. It's called the Kunjai School. And so this is a picture of the school. I probably should have a close-up, but this is Johnny and his wife, Nangsar. And they're just really great people. I can't say enough about them. But at any rate, the project is to build a library for this school. So it's a 750 square foot building, $20,000. It's amazing that you can build one of these facilities for such a relatively small amount of money. So Seattle University, I've been able to squeeze $5,000 out of the university to help contribute towards this project. I'm asking the club to consider contributing $2,000 towards this project. Linwood Rotary and Federal Way Rotary have already agreed to contribute $1,000, and we're waiting to hear back from Seattle 4 and their bureaucracy. But it's looking positive, and if the funding goes well with our club and Seattle 4, then as you know, the district will match the other 10, and we can have this all done by April 2020. So that's kind of one goal there. And then now I'm going to move over to the northeast part of the country. So as I said, I'm half Thai. So very coincidentally that these projects started, there was another faculty advisor who started these projects in Thailand years ago. So my mom's family, my family, happens to be from northeast Thailand. And so I go there a lot. In fact, one of the most famous silk makers in the country is from this part of the country. And if you're interested in learning how to make silk, you want to have a really amazing adventure, come talk to me after the meeting, and I'll set you up. This woman has built a really beautiful facility where guests can come and learn how to make silk and stay, and it's really nice. At any rate, so I go there all the time. So I've been to Thailand like 19 times now, and just about 10 minutes from my parents' house is this school called the Napo. I call it the Napo School. So Napo is this little town. You fly into Buriram. So Tom, thanks for mentioning Buriram. But you fly into Buriram from Bangkok. It's about 45 minutes, and then you take a 45-minute drive to Napo. And the school has students aged, it's basically 7th grade through 12th grade. And there's about 1,000 kids at this school. So I was just there in September, and they always make a big deal about foreigners coming. In fact, I was the first native English speaker that these kids have ever met. So they actually had a small group of them come talk to me, and it was really cute. And so, but I mean, it's a lot of kids. In fact, you can't even see, but over here, there's a whole nother, I don't know, like, are they the freshmen or something? I don't know why they're making them sit over there. They're covered, you know.
7th grade.
No, 7th, yes, that's right, the 7th graders. So anyway, so the project here is a drinking water project. And so they have a lot of infrastructure already. In fact, so they have this water tower. I don't know how well you can see this. So I wanted the principal, when I went there a year ago, I said, hey, can you draw, or can you just give me a map of the water distribution system? And so I get this beautiful hand-drawn map where here we have the water tower, and then we've got, you know, the distribution system and so forth. This is amazing. And the problem is, even though it's groundwater, the problem is it's high in dissolved solids. That doesn't mean a lot to you. It's brackish. How about if I tell you it's really salty? And so it's not really potable. And then on top of that, the distribution system is so old and been gunked up. There's lots of bacteria present in the distribution system, so it's not safe to drink. And so, so this is just where they get their water. So this project then is treating this brackish groundwater and E. coli using reverse osmosis. You've probably heard of RO before, and ultraviolet light disinfection. It's pretty simple treatment. It's kind of expensive though, $9,000. The thing about, the reason this project kind of like caught my attention is you have 1,000 kids. They're spending $100 a day on bottled water for these kids. $100 a day is way more than you need to maintain a system like the one I'm describing. And so, and it's such a waste to have all that bottled water. So, so I'm going around, as I do, $100 at a time, raising money to see if we can fund this project, and then they're going to take care of the maintenance. So that, in a nutshell, is that water project there. And then this is my taking questions now slide. So I have a couple minutes for questions before our keynote speaker. So please, Tom.
Bill, you mentioned possible match from the district. What about match from international? Is that also part of it?
It is not. Yeah. So it's just the project isn't that big to be in my mind, to be an RI foundation grant, and there's a lot more paperwork. In fact, RI foundation grants don't really. It's hard to build. It's hard to do construction projects with RI. And so there's a lot more flexibility at the district level. So we thought we'll just keep it at the district level and we won't have as much trouble with the paper. Yeah. Other questions? Yeah, Joel.
Where are you on the 9,000?
Well, the Seattle University Rotary Club, which I'm the faculty advisor for, is looking for an international project. So I think we're going to be able to come up with $1,000 or $2,000 from that, and then the rest is just, fundraising. Yeah. Other questions? Yeah, Matt.
Can any returns join you on the trip to Thailand?
Absolutely. I mean, the next time I go, I'm going to be getting married, so I don't know. That might be a little bit of an odd one.
Invite us. Invite us. We can go.
But yeah, absolutely. I mean, anytime. And so I didn't get to talk about the projects that we're doing in Haiti or Peru or Zambia or any of that other stuff. But they're always welcome to have guests come on our projects. Yes. Yeah, Howard, one more.
The Lake Union Rotary, and of course, the University Rotary are really big on international projects. I think this would be a great project to get support. And if you like, I can go there with you.
Sure.
And see if I can get you on their docket.
Okay.
Speaker program.
Appreciate that. Thanks, Howard.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Phil. That was a great update. When are you planning on going back for the NAFO water project?
I'm kind of hoping that I don't need to go back immediately. I know someone who's going there, who's an engineer who can follow up in December.
Okay, great. Yeah. Well, as you might know, clean water is one of Rotary's areas of focus. So what Phil's doing is perfect for Rotary, and I think it would be great for us to get involved with, at the very least, the NAFO water project. Sounds like there's a good chance we'll help with the library as well. And the NAFO water project, I think, would be a good international project for us to help focus on, and that would count as one of our areas of focus for the club as well. So I think that would be perfect. So thank you very much, Phil. I've been wanting to hear updates on your efforts, and I think we've got time for a couple of quick announcements before our speaker. We are recognizing World Polio Day by doing our first annual pub crawl. And so we will be starting bright and early at 4 p.m. on October 24th, and we'll be starting at McMenamins, just down the street. And we'll be going to a couple of pubs, and then we'll go to the event at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which is just up the street. And so that will be our opportunity to recognize World Polio Day and raise some money. Hopefully we can start this as maybe an annual tradition so that we can continue to raise funds. And I don't know, Howard, if you had anything to add.
In order to register for the Gates Foundation, all you do is go to DAC-TV, which is where they have, the Rotary people have their information. And it's free, but they do want you to register.
Okay.
And
yeah.
From 6 to 9, there's food. There'll be great speakers there, and I think it'd be great for us to have a showing there. And then we can present the money that we raised, information-wise, while we're there.
Excellent. So more to come, more details about this to come. And so thank you, Howard and Aaron, who helped brainstorm this idea. I think it's a great idea. And we also have our holiday party coming up. It's coming up really fast. It's December 3rd, and people are already registering. So I sent out a link to register for the event. Make sure you register, bring your friends. I'm trying to build a table 8 myself. And so please plan on attending. And right after this meeting, there's going to be a quick committee meeting. Matt Story is going to be running that. So please stick around as we discuss
what needs to be done for the holiday party. And I believe Howard had an announcement.
So a while back, we had the AG Express grants, and we participated along with the Passport Club and the University District Club, and we gave $500 each to Police Foundation to have them reimburse police officers who currently go into their own pocket to pay for diapers and baby bottles and formula and things like that when they go on calls. So Sherry and I and Kathy Gibson were at the annual gala for the Police Foundation, and we had a table there. I believe we raised another $2,000 from people that were there, so now we're up to $3,500. So the Police Foundation went online and did a poster of a police officer. This is a real, actual picture of a police officer working with a child who was from a home that needed help. And we actually got to meet the police officer. She didn't look like that. She was dressed very lovely in a regular gown, and she was thrilled. So what we are doing is on November 1st, there's the annual police awards banquet, where they give out awards for things the police do, which is just amazing. And so what we'd like to do, I went to Seattle 4 and did that there. I would like people, if they're interested, take a couple of seconds between now before the end of the meeting. And on the back of the postcard, just write a little thank you to the police officers for the fact that they get up every day and go out there to protect you and to, who knows if they're actually going to get home. So, they put their life on the line every single day. And we're going to present these to police officers at that evening. So just take a moment, write a thank you note. There's a pen and a card on your table, and we'll pick them up at the end. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Howard. Yes, please take a moment to do that while we set up for our speaker.
Mark, are you okay if I say something related to what Howard just presented?
Yes, go ahead.
So evidence of the police doing this is also connected to Seattle Urban Academy. We had a police officer arrest a young man on the streets of Seattle for not doing good. And the ride where he was taken to juvenile detention, he heard the young man's story. He said, I'm not taking you to juvenile detention. I'm going to take you to this school I know about called Seattle Urban Academy. He takes them there, and the student says, well, yeah, I need to be in school. And it's a very long story, but then he found out that the student or family needed to pay whatever tuition it was, like $175 for a quarter. It's nothing. Student says, you can't do that. Police officer says, I'm paying, pulls the checkbook out, pays for the tuition, and that kid graduated from SUA. And that started because the Seattle police officer said, there's a different route for you here. Instead of juvenile detention, SUA.
Wow.
It's an amazing story.
Excellent. All right, with that, I think we will introduce our speaker, Sherry.
Thank you.
How are the acoustics in this room? Can you hear back there? Is it?
I'm very loud.
Is it
good. Just project.
I'm
very loud.
Is it better with the microphone? Is there any difference with the microphone?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I am very happy to introduce Alyssa Royce. She and her husband Brady Collins own Rocket CrossFit in Seattle. Alyssa is a trained sex educator and inclusivity facilitator. She's been coaching CrossFit and Oli lifting for years, but as much as she loves the physical stuff, it's the community of CrossFit that inspires her. When she's not at the gym, she can be found running inclusive coaching workshops at gyms around the country, working in the ceramic studio, tending to her chickens, or binge watching television while eating ice cream. Please help me welcome Alyssa.
Can you guys hear me? Because I actually hate microphones. Oh, cool. All right. That's a hysterical introduction, which I think came from my website. Like I recognize that. Do you guys know what CrossFit is? It doesn't actually matter, except that CrossFit has a reputation for being this very hard-hitting, super intense, totally aggro intense workout, and none of those words describe me at all. I am a lazy, recalcitrant CrossFitter. I hate doing hard things. I was really just there because my husband started the gym. So if you mention to somebody in the CrossFit world, especially Seattle, but I think internationally at this point, my name, you're very likely to get an eye roll. Because I have been, for better or worse, though I think better, linked to the big change that CrossFit has taken, which is away from that perception and into one of inclusivity. So I just have finished for this year a tour across the country called Don't Be an A-hole. That was absolutely focused on the inclusion of transgender athletes in sport, because that is one group of people that is typically left out when we focus on the gender binary. So I'm going to bring some of that sensibility of how I'm helping to change this industry and hopefully make it useful to you guys. But we have to start here, because this is the family that I come from. And although it just looks like a regular old wedding picture, and it is, but it's my wedding, so it was the best wedding ever. What you also see are my gay fathers, my husband's gay mothers, the 2 daughters that he has with a lesbian couple, his African-American sister, and several people who have fought back life-threatening injuries and illness in order to be where they are. So I can't move through the world without remembering the family that I come from, that in many ways is ostracized and otherized in this country. And so I have brought 50 years worth of fighting for their rights to every single thing that I do. My husband is exactly the same way. I love to tell the story that when we met, I laid out on the table for him. I said right off the bat, dude, my husband is gay. If that's gonna be an issue for you, I need to know now. And he smiled and he said, oh, no, it's okay. My mother's gay. And I was like, cool, we're even. And then he smiled and he said, oh, no, I have 2 daughters with a lesbian couple. I'm like, okay, you win. And then he leans back in his chair. He's like, and my sister's black. And I was like, okay, I'm out. So Brady and I bring all of that to our business, which makes us very mission driven. So fitness is fine. 6-pack abs are a thing that some people may get. Most of us are never going to be competitive athletes. So we're running this gym in the south of Seattle. We have to have a mission other than just get people strong and make good athletes. So our mission, and we state it explicitly in our operations manual, all of our employees have to sign off on this. Our mission is to inspire people and empower community, empower people and inspire community. We lead with that with everything we do. And it matters because every time we have to make a decision in our business, we can return to that. That is a tool that we use on a regular basis. And it has taken us to some places we never expected to go. It's also important to know that when we stick with our mission statement, because we are a very mission-driven business, sometimes we piss people off, like real often, actually. So one example that I like to use of that is when the Black Lives Matter movement became even more important. It's hard to say that it was ever not important, but we put a Black Lives Matter sign in the window of our gym in South Seattle, and I started getting emails from people that said, just so you know, I will never come to your gym now. And my response to every single one of them was, that's probably for the best. And it allowed us to make that decision, because I think we live with this idea that we have to make everybody happy all the time. Well, now my mission is to focus on people who have been oppressed and otherized and to inspire community around them. So sometimes I do have to make decisions that make people mad at me, but I have this to rest on and say, yeah, that was the right decision. You know, I don't like making people mad. I don't like whatever, but sometimes you have to. So then this became really evident when 4 years ago, this company to which I've really, CrossFit, I've built my life around this brand, publicly outed and disallowed from competition a transgender athlete. So there was a transgender athlete, not in Seattle, who was competing in what we call the CrossFit Open, which is an international competition. And she was not allowed to compete because she's trans. Further, she was outed, having lived her entire life stealth. Nobody knew she was trans. I got real angry, and I did what I do. I'm a writer by profession. And I wrote a big piece saying, CrossFit, you got to change your ways. And I just laid it out to them about why they were wrong and why they were terrible. And I had forgotten that I also laid out their entire PR strategy to fix this mess that they had started, because I come from that background. And it was purely a thing of passion. And then a couple days later, I got a tweet message from somebody who I didn't know, who turned out to be like the highest guy other than the founder of CrossFit. And he said, hey, the founder of CrossFit and I are coming out to Seattle, let's talk. I was like, what? I had picked this fight. They came out and they wanted to talk to me about what they had done that was wrong. So they did this thing that I think is fairly unconventional when backed into a corner by a rabid activist, which is that they sat down and they talked to me. And we had this long conversation in which we agreed on absolutely nothing. But it ended with them saying, hey, listen, never stop speaking your mind, okay? That started a 4-year relationship in which we would just message each other now and then, touch base. Last year at the CrossFit Games, I stood by their side as they repealed their ban on transgender athletes, developed comprehensive policies to allow everybody to compete, and started a very, very strong alliance with a queer athlete organization that now they donate tons of money to, and they help fund things like my traveling around to help gyms become more inclusive. All of which is to say, I spoke my mind, they listened, and we made major change. It also changed everything we did in our gym though. Like every CrossFit gym I know in the country, we used to have leaderboards where the strongest men and the strongest women earned a spot on the board. We don't do that anymore because we realized that was leaving out too many people, but also because that didn't have anything to do with our mission. Creating unnecessary competition was really just telling people that they weren't good enough. They weren't the winners, which made people who were afraid of fitness or had often felt otherwise not inspired to come in. So again, it was another example of how we get to refer back to our mission statement to figure out what to do. This was after having these conversations. I came home from the gym one day and one of the spokespeople for CrossFit had put out this tweet celebrating a gym that had refused to celebrate Pride. I'm 100% fine with a gym saying that we don't celebrate Pride. I have absolutely no issues. If that's who you are, you get to do that. The problem was this guy was a spokesperson for the brand. So he was, long story short, he was fired by the end of the day. I was on the phone with them saying, this can't stand, this is terrible PR, this is not who we are as a brand. And by the end of the day, I had written this tweet, which went out on behalf of the brand, right? So it's about being able to always sort of make decisions and pivot and think about who you're trying to reach and what you're accidentally doing. For us, this has not just been about social justice. This is very, very, very good business. When I put the Black Lives Matter sign in the window, I lost 3 or 4 angry people who probably never would have joined my gym anyway. I now have people who drive across the city to come to my gym, right? Because we led with our politics. Same thing with our rainbow flags, same thing with our trans awareness. People come from all over the city driving past other gyms to come to our gym. This is going to be true of almost any business. Your business, most people's business, I should say, the goal is to reach a larger market. The goal is growth. The goal is to spread. When you lead with, but not if you're this person, 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 you inherently shrink the size of your market. And it's also good for people. So it's something that you actually have to do actively. And when I consult with gyms and other sort of fitness related businesses and some other businesses, I will do an actual audit of their website, of the language in their operations manuals, of the language in their job postings, everything, to make sure that everything you put out there is showing that you're inclusive, because a picture is worth 1,000 words and people will judge you more on what you do than what you say. So this, I just pulled this off the internet last night. But if you look at this picture, many people are going to be able to look at this and say, this is a place where I'm invited. Somebody with a wheelchair is going to feel like they're invited. People who aren't white are going to feel like they're invited. People who are women are going to feel like they're invited, as opposed to sort of real traditional marketing of just usually shiny, smiley white people. And it makes a really big difference. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit that I think people do accidentally or ignore accidentally in our language. One of the things that I've been noticing a lot is people feel this need to say, the applicant should have his or her whatever in your materials, when you really could just say they. There's low-hanging fruit in terms of inclusivity, in terms of having bathrooms that aren't male or female, that are just open to anyone. There's low-hanging fruit in terms of looking at all sorts of language and images that we use to invite people into our businesses. In the fitness industry, that has meant my going to gyms and going through their websites and saying, look, the only pictures you have are of topless people with six-pack abs. That's not going to invite me in. Like, I'm never going to have six-pack abs. I'm scared of that. It's never going to be me. And so figuring out how we do that. Now, some of these issues are a whole lot harder when you run into what seems like what's a sort of social justice and inclusivity issue up against a deeply held personal truth. One of the quotes, the things to think about is that everybody's entitled to their opinion, but you're not entitled essentially to think that it's a fact. What I like to say is that your personal experience is not a universal truth. So I will have people, when we took down our leaderboards and no longer had competition, people would come up to me and say, hey, but Alyssa, nobody wants to do this if there's not a reason, like if there's nothing to win. And I would smile and say, your personal opinion is not a universal truth, right? So for you, competition might be important, but for somebody else, competition might be the thing that stops them from wanting to come. And so learning to look at those things, and the best way to do that is to have in your office, in your group, in your committee, have diverse people making those decisions, because there is not one universal truth. So when I work with gyms, I encourage them to have coaching staffs that are somebody who's a super fit competitive athlete, somebody who is fighting back from illness and can't do half the things that the gym does, somebody who's Black, somebody who's queer, somebody who's all of these things, because then when you get together and talk, all of those opinions are reflected, as opposed to you just sitting here in your sort of personal experience trying to guess what a universal truth might be. So this is what I've been doing in the CrossFit world and in the fitness industry as I travel across the country working with gyms. I do all day 6-hour workshops with coaching staffs, helping them look at how we assess everything from goal making to coaching workshops. And it's been really pretty amazing. So the last thing I really encourage people to do is to have a game plan, is to sit in your world, whether it's your church, your business, your family, your Rotary club, and look around the room and say, is everybody reflected? Do we have all of the voices that we need here to be making a decision? Look at the power structure. Where do you sit in that power structure? Who can you talk to create change? What little changes can you make? Can you change the name of an event from whatever, Boys and Girls Club to Youth Club? You know, what are little changes that you can make? Can you change the way your bathrooms are labeled? Can you change the way your events are called? Who are you able to speak to help make change? Who do you need to ask questions of to find out if changes need to be made? You have to have a concrete plan going forward in the world if you're going to make change. And that was it, because Sherry said she thought there'd be a whole lot of questions, which is usually where this thing lives, is questions. Yes.
I got a question. So without leaderboards, do you have any other forms of incentive to drive people to
push harder,
lift,
try harder,
lift more weights and stuff?
I should have put in a picture of our bathroom. We have a bathroom which has the Prince symbol holding a purple kettlebell on it. Probably should run in that picture also, because that's gender neutral. So yes, we have everybody declare goals, but it's not based on winning. And we don't, in our gym, we don't allow goals based on size or shape. So you can't come to me and say, I want to lose 20 pounds, because I'm not going to play that game, because I don't know if you can lose 20 pounds. And I don't know if you get in the best shape of your life, you might be 20 pounds heavier. So people bring all of this stuff in. So our goals are, what are things that you want to do? So when I work with athletes, the first thing I'll ask you is, what makes you happy with your body? And to do with your body. Because I'm a sex educator, I usually say, do you like dancing, hiking, having sex? What makes you happy? To break the ice and say that the primary purpose of your body is to bring you joy. So if you like hiking, I'm going to start setting goals for you based on being able to do that hike you always wanted to do with your kids. If you like playing soccer, I'm going to work on goals with you that make you able to play like a full soccer game. And so we do that. And we also set concrete goals in terms of lifts and moves that we do. 90% of people who come into my gym want to get their first pull-up, world's most common fitness goal. And so we'll say, all right, we'll work towards that pull-up or a body weight squat or a deadlift. But taking away, I think in the fitness industry, even the way we set goals is based on arbitrary ideas that Madison Avenue has sold us in order to make us feel bad about ourselves, in order to make us buy products and gym memberships. And I think that's really dangerous. So like another step in inclusivity is stepping outside of that. Because I can tell you now, I don't know anything about any of you, but 90% of you are never going to have six-pack abs. But you know, somebody could tell you that you should in order to be good enough, make you feel bad, and then you would buy products, right? So we just cut all that out.
Thank you.
They're going back.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
When did you switch from the reputation is for extreme, exertion?
Yeah.
My daughter's a physical therapist, both physical therapist meal plan.
Totally, yeah.
And so, but the change occurred apparently.
The change has occurred. I also like to push back on that, though, and say that tennis, although existed long before CrossFit. So people like to pick on CrossFit. We have a disproportionate number of physical therapists and orthopedic surgeons who are members of our gym, which it used to make me nervous to coach them. But we started making the switch at CrossFit, you know, and I don't work for CrossFit, though I do consult with them on a regular basis at this point. You started seeing the shift a few years ago. So CrossFit is now really focused on health. Nutrition is probably a bigger part of what CrossFit works on now than the games, and really separating out. You guys can go Google the CrossFit Games if you're curious about what competitive CrossFit looks like. But CrossFit as a company is now doing a very good job of separating out CrossFit Games as a sport versus CrossFit as fitness. And I think our gym was, you know, on the forefront of that, because I pushed back hard against that, because it doesn't serve, you know, most people aren't competitive. If you look at CrossFit now, there's a lot of videos of old people lifting jugs of antifreeze on couches, and they're goofy, right? But from a business perspective, I made the argument years ago that the future of the brand is not in competition, it's in health and fitness, because the competitive athletes are like 1% of people, but 99% of us just need to be stronger and healthier. So it's definitely happening. Sherry, you had a question.
Oh, well, I actually just wanted to add to your point about how inclusivity can be good for business. And that is the other thing that I don't know if people realize is how quickly young people are just accepting transgender. Totally. Like, I mean, like my kids, it's not even a
thing. No.
To the point of my 16-year-old and 14-year-old went to homecoming last weekend, and the high school that they go to does not vote on a king and queen anymore. They vote on 3 royalty per grade, and they're whatever gender. There's no more king and queen. There's just like 3 people who are now part of royalty.
Totally. And it's I have this, my daughter's 21, and I will try very hard not to swear here, but I overheard a conversation they were having at Friendsgiving where some friends were trying to figure out if somebody was, I don't know, gay or straight or male or female or something. And my daughter just was like, hold up. Are you having sex with that person? And everyone was like, no. And she's like, then it doesn't matter, right? And I think that that's actually really common with kids these days. But it also brings up a really important thing that most of us, I mean, I'm 50, which is probably, I don't know, somewhere in the average age for this room. I definitely grew up being taught what a woman was and what a man was. So there are all of these rules where women are supposed to be X, Y, and Z, and you do these things in order to be a good enough woman, and men are supposed to be, you know, A, B, C, and you do these things to be a good man. What is it? Strong, provider, 6-pack abs, rich, you know, take care of everything. And now we're sort of telling people, psych, those rules, nah, doesn't really matter. And it's really disorienting for a lot of people. And so I don't want to dismiss that, because it's really hard. We're now telling you that all these rules you grew up with don't actually apply anymore. So how are you supposed to know who you are in the world? And that, certainly in the fitness industry, is the thing that I fight up against most. And I always want to tell people, you are not wrong for learning the lessons that society taught you. Like, you learned those lessons really well, but we're not actually using those anymore. And so it's like, I think it's awesome that there's no homecoming king and queen. But for a lot of people, you know, would look back at their own photos as homecoming king or homecoming queen and say, but that's how I knew I was great. So you know, there's going to be a lumpy transition where we start judging people. And I think in business, we could do it the same way as we do it in fitness. What is the outcome of your labor? What is the work that you're doing? How are people feeling? Is your stuff successful? Doesn't matter what you know, who you are.
Just make a comment, and 2 comments, I guess. One, I was writing in this morning, and apparently Ellen DeGeneres went to an event, sat next to George Bush.
Yep, I saw that.
Got just flamed for it. And
That's
if we
useful.
can't be tolerant of someone with a different opinion, we live in a silly place.
Well, that's, I look back at when the heads of CrossFit came and were like, hey, let's talk to this woman. Like, and look what we did.
Yeah, that's where change comes.
That's where change
My
comes.
son, my youngest son, who was probably 25 at the time, and I just remember this, where he was at a party and got introduced to a bunch of people, and there was a trans, gender fluid person there, and he referred to her as her or him or something, and they just went insane.
Yeah.
And he goes, look, I'm just trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
You can be whatever I'm not trying to offend you.
Right.
Just give me a break here.
Yeah.
Clue me in, be nice about it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be all inclusive and tolerant, and
Yeah.
you're not. So let's balance this.
The pronoun thing. We could do a whole hour on pronouns. It can be really tough for people. And what I always say, going forward, if you're unsure, just you introduce yourself. So I will often, if I feel unsure or just whatever, I'm like, hi, I'm Alyssa Royce. I use she, her pronouns. And that just sets the tone. We do that in our gym every single class. We do a welcome circle and say, my name's Alyssa, she, her pronouns, my favorite, whatever the question of the day is. We don't do it because anybody doesn't know. We do it to normalize that discussion so that people are used to asking. And if you make a mistake, I make mistakes pretty much daily. Today probably won't be the day that I don't make a mistake. And then you just apologize. You're like, oops, sorry, move on. Don't make it about you. So, see, I went way over.
Right. Well, thank
It's
you.
The questions are worth it.
Thank you, Alyssa. Very timely topic. I think my new slogan in life is, your personal opinion is not a universal truth. I'm going to use that on my son tonight. Thank you very much. And our club is dedicated to the future of our community by serving the educational needs of young people. And to recognize you for speaking to us this morning, we will be giving 300 pounds of food to Harvest Against Hunger to help make sure that families don't go hungry. So
I love that. Thank you.
This is in your name, and thank you very much.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And I believe we have
A thing, yes.
raffle or whatever.
So next week's speaker, did you need?
Can I just?
Yes.
1 second. I want to introduce Tony Moore. Tony came in a little bit late. He was waiting in the lobby. Tony is a graduate of Year Up.
Oh, perfect.
It's a program that we sponsor and work with and build pool. Tony was a mentee of mine.
Excellent.
And not only did he graduate from there, he now works there.
Excellent.
As a recruiter for students.
Excellent.
So welcome, Tony.
Maybe we'll have you come back and speak to us someday. Sure.
The speaker next week is Angela Jones from the Washington STEM program. So she should be very interesting. And every week we have a drawing. When you walk in, you can buy raffle tickets in the morning. They're $1 a piece. Half goes to the club, so we can do all the amazing things that we do. And then half goes into a pot. If your raffle number is drawn, you win 2 things. Number 1 is you win a book. And today the book is called Heart in the Right Place, which I just finished reading. It's a nice little book. It's a nice little story. It's like, it was gifted to me. I'm gifting it to the club. And you also win a chance to draw a card from this deck. If you draw the Joker, you win the pot, which today the pot is $776. And there are 25 cards left. If you draw anything besides the Joker, that card comes out of the deck. Next week, the pot is bigger and the deck is smaller. So with that, would you mind drawing and reading the last 3 numbers on there?
999. That's easy.
Ah, Bill. Okay. All the way back.
You got to reshuffle because I saw both the top and the that gives me another advantage.
It's the truth.
All right.